everybody. It is Kathy, and I love to be selling. Come on in, everybody. Come on in, sellers. Come on in. Come on in. And come on in and settle down. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know that you can hear me. Tell me about your weather. Here in New York City, it is super, super, super cold. I was like, I've got my tea next to me. I've got some nice water, but come on in and let me know that you can hear everything, that everything is fine. What I want to talk about today is for some sellers, for about a month now, it almost feels like you turned around, right? And where did the customers go? So that's what I wanted to discuss with you, but let me know that you can hear me. And I am going to just do a quick tech check and make sure that everything is good. So hang on just a second while I do that. I think we're good. So hang on a second. Here we are. So, and let me see how everybody's doing. Hang on a second. Hi, Sharon. How are you? Good. Loud and clear. Okay, great. So we're going to get right to it. So this is what I was thinking about, particularly thinking of clothing sellers, but certainly this applies to everyone, is have you gone into a store and it's really, really crowded? So you go in, it could be a supermarket, it could be a drugstore, a clothing store, but any kind of store, you go in, it's super busy and you're doing your shopping. So you're grabbing your groceries or your drugstore items, or, you're trying things on. And then maybe you go down another aisle and then you go to the checkout and it's gotten really quiet. It's like everybody's gone. It's like, where did the customers go? Like when I came in, there was like 40 people, 50 people, 60 people. And now there's me and maybe a handful of other people. And this is what I wanted to talk to everybody about what's been going on eBay. Now, as you all know, as of October 15th, there were a lot of item specifics and some requirement changes in several categories. I'm actually going to read it to you. It's from the Fall Seller Release 2019. And the categories that were impacted are business and industrial, camera and photo, cell phone and accessories, clothing, shoes and accessories, computer, tablets and networking, consumer electronics, home and garden, toys and hobby, video games, and consoles. And that's a lot. It seems particularly, I've heard comments from a big variety of sellers, but it seems particularly a lot of clothing sellers got hit. Now, before I dive into that, I do want to say one thing, which is if sales had been slow for 3 or 4 months or 5 or 6 months prior to the item specific update that happened October 15th, please realize you need to take a look at things like your prices, your the choices of inventory that you're making, what things are still popular. But you really need to check your prices, your titles, your overall optimization, because if your business has been sliding month after month, that's really what you need to talk about. But if you really notice a big change since October 15th, even since it says, everything's fixed, they've said several times that our data was never obscured from search. It was just there was things going on. But if you're still finding a slump in sales, I've got a couple of suggestions for you. The first thing is, if you haven't done this, and this can be more challenging for those of us that have a lot of listings. So for my seller friends that have over 1,000 listings, this is work, and you may want a VA to do this, is every day grab about half a dozen listings, okay? Particularly in those categories that I just listed, and that's on the Fall Seller Update of 2019. Grab half a dozen. If you want to grab more, do it. And use the bulk edit, which is in active listings. You just click, and then you click the edit function, and you don't need a store to do bulk edit. And you want to edit the item specifics. Okay, so you're going to pull them up. Yes, you do it individually, and it is time consuming, but you can through them pretty fast. What you're looking for are item specifics that have been added since you listed the item. And I'll use clothing as an example. It could be sleeve length, depends how long your listing's been up. It could be neckline. It can also be handmade, is now often in clothing. Vintage, yes or no, will show in clothing. And you may think, well, it's obvious this style, it's very modern style, isn't vintage. Yes, but it's showing as an item specific. And even though you may feel it's not very important for that item, eBay is offering it to you as an item specific. Why not click it and answer it if you know the answer? You don't want to be making things up. But if it's an option that you know the answer, that it's not handmade, that it's not vintage, vintage needs to be 20 years or more typically. Vintage is 9 years old. It's worthwhile to fill out. Why? It gives eBay more information about your item. If eBay is asking for that item specific, clearly there are people that are searching. It helps them filter. It will help your item in search. It will help your item in Google. So it's worth it to, as you have time, to bulk edit items, go through and look at item specifics that have been added. And this is true of all categories. This is true in media. This is true in collectibles. So go through and look for that. Okay. And I do maybe half a dozen a day. And I sort by my older listings because I know my newer listings are current with the current item specifics. Now, for my experienced sellers where you go, Kathy, my title is optimized. Okay. My pictures are great and I'm using plenty of pictures. I have good item specifics. I have filled them in. I have a good description and I'm seeing a drop in sales. And I'm particularly speaking to clothing, but I'm also hearing from some toy sellers. I am hearing from some electronic sellers. So a couple of thoughts on that. One, and I'm sure you've thought about this because I've been watching this trend now for, gosh, well over a year. Clothing is one of the easiest items to sell on eBay. I'm not saying easy as far as being an expert, particularly in vintage clothing, but everybody pretty much has access to clothing. They either are selling their own clothing, they're going to a retail store and buying off a clearance rack, they're doing something like Goodwill bins or Salvation Army, but clothing is one of the easiest items to access. Okay. For other people, might be toys and games because they have children or they have really great yard sales with tons of toys. But for the most part, clothing is one of the easiest ones to access. Additionally, it seems that clothing has the most selling sites and apps of just about anything I see. You have Poshmark, you have Macari, then you also have sites like Tradesy and Depop. So what I've seen happen is, yes, you've got eBay. Yes, you've got Etsy for vintage clothing, but you also now have a lot of other sites and they all have apps because I notice very much for people under 40 seem to pretty much shop on apps is what I'm seeing. So where eBay really owned the market, it was really eBay and Etsy for years, depending on exactly what you were looking for. There's now a huge variety of places to shop for clothing, both used and new. And don't feel that you're being isolated if you're selling lower end clothing or luxury, because I've been hearing things from my luxury sellers, because they're sites for luxury goods. Poshmark is one, as well as lower end sellers. I've been seeing comments about, wow, the prices have really dropped. This can happen when you have a lot of casual sellers coming in, which can happen at the holidays, right? People are trying to raise money for the holidays. They don't really care if they get top dollar. They're just clearing out their closet. So they'll sell a blouse for $5, $10 plus shipping that might at other times of the year sell for 20 or 25, and it pulls the whole market down. So you've got a lot of factors going on. I think the biggest one for clothing is that there's such an abundance of sites that offer clothing. So what I suggest now, if you're a newer seller, I suggest really focusing on the one site that is your primary site, whether it's eBay or Etsy or Poshmark. And I'm speaking mostly to my eBay sellers. So if you are new to eBay, and new being under 3 months, or you're a part-time seller and you only have so many hours in the day, I really, especially because we're in fourth quarter right now, I would focus on eBay. If you are very experienced with eBay and you're only on eBay and you're not anywhere else, I strongly encourage you to look at another site, even though we're really into fourth quarter and you don't have a lot of time. But it doesn't take that long to get up and running on another site. Something like Poshmark, you can copy and paste your listings very quickly. You can even hire a VA to do it. Same thing with Macari. Okay. They're pretty simple to list on. They don't have the complexities of Amazon. The reason a site like Poshmark, and I have a YouTube with tips for eBay sellers on Poshmark. So be sure to check out my YouTube channel, Kathy Terrell, I Love to Be Selling. But the thing about something like Poshmark or Macari is they're much simpler sites because there's not the huge variety. You don't have eBay Motors. You don't have, tons variety of collectibles. It's clothing. It's men's clothing, women's clothing. I'm speaking of Poshmark, and the kids' clothing, and they just expanded to home decor. It's very limited what you can sell. You're not selling pieces of furniture. There's a lot of items you're not selling. eBay has probably the most diverse catalog of any site there is. I mean, you name it, it's on eBay. And that's what we love about eBay. My concern for you is to help you with your eBay sales. So to do that, again, really look at the price. You also really need to look at your choice of inventory. Sometimes I'll talk to sellers and they'll buy something because it's a deal, right? They see on the rack it was $80 marked at $5. Well, that's great. But if it's a brand that doesn't sell on eBay, all you need to do is an advanced search. I don't care if it's marked down to $5. It doesn't sell on eBay. I need to not buy it. I need to buy brands that sell on eBay. Additionally, you need to check sizes. Small might sell like crazy and double X doesn't, and vice versa. There can be big differences in prices. Again, small could an extra $15 or $20, and the double X isn't. Patterns can matter. I think about something like Lululemon, which is very popular yoga leggings, fitness leggings. If it is a current pattern, a current style that is in the stores, you get a much higher price than leggings that were offered a year and a half ago that no longer are offered. Now, that being said, sometimes a discontinued style can be wildly popular. So you do need to watch things like that. But by and large, for a lot of the companies, if it is a current item that is in the store, you usually get a higher price. So that's why when you search completed, be careful looking at it. Look at the pattern. Look at the size. It's not just the brand. It's not just, oh, Lululemon or oh, Anthropologie or oh, Free People. The color matters. The style matters. And whether it's current matters. And it's very much like the stock market where red could be hot, hot, hot. And then 3 months later, you can't give it away. And I've made that mistake. I've bought something. I sold it. I did really well. 6 months later, I'll find another one. I'm like, yay, right? I grab it. Big mistake because I didn't take that minute, 2 minutes to check my advanced search and find out, it's not selling anymore. Okay. So that's my thoughts about for some sellers that are struggling. I know some sellers are doing really well and I'm glad. So keep doing what you're doing. But if you're struggling or if you're noticing slight downslide or you're not getting the sales this year that you've gotten in previous years. So you're up, but you're only maybe up 5%. And typically you would be up 10, 15, 20%. Check solds. You also, please be really careful. Check the styles, colors. This is also true in electronics. This is true with kids' toys. Something can be on trend and then it's gone. Think of something like fidget spinners. So be really, really, really aware of what is going on. I just think with everything going on with the online life, trends can change like that. And if you are a clothing seller, I really encourage you to diversify rather than, break your heart and just get so frustrated and so angry. Just realize people have a lot of choices. It's like living here in New York City, right? I can shop at Macy's. I can shop at Bloomingdale's. I can shop at Old Navy. I can shop at boutiques. There's a lot of choices. And for clothing sellers and other categories too, it's, clothing sellers are not alone. Home and garden, huge variety of places to sell from. And you have to take a look at the competition. It's not enough to be competitive on eBay. You want to be competitive with the web. It's very, very important. And then you will continue to prosper. Then additionally, so you're checking your prices, you're checking styles, you're checking currency, you're considering diversifying, is you absolutely want to do social media. And I've spoken about this. And the reason is whether you are on Poshmark, whether you are on eBay, whether you're on Etsy, whether you are on Amazon, is yes, the sites will help you to get traffic. And that is great. But gone are the days that truly you can just rely on the site. Again, if you're a very casual seller, that's fine. You only have a few hours a day. You focus on getting listing. For my more professional business sellers, you do want to look at social media. You only have to spend 5 or 10 minutes a day, but it really helps your items rank in search. You want to take a look at Facebook business pages or Pinterest or Instagram. And I've got something to help you. So hang on, because this is new to me and I've got to show you how to do it. So hang on a second. And I'm going to share and I'm doing the tab. So what you're going to do is you're going to hop over to I Love to Be Selling and you're going to hover over free tips. And what you want is essential social media cheat sheet. Now this I really, really packed. I mean, this has Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram tips. So you've got everything here. So grab that and get to work. So again, check your inventory, check your prices, check what is selling now, check if you're current. If you have the time, expand. If right now is way too overwhelming, just sort of bookmark it in your mind and make that part of your New Year's resolution. Okay. And let me figure out how to stop sharing. There we go. Stop. Stop. Yes. I'm trying new software. And I like this one much better. So you have to see how everything looks. But those are my thoughts for you. So when you see a downturn, I know it's so hard and we all go through it. So please don't feel like you're ever alone. And that can be one of the things that's a little frustrating sometimes being on social media, because you'll hop into Facebook groups, and you'll say, oh, my sales are a little bit down. Everybody else like, oh, I'm doing great. It's my greatest week ever. And you're like, ugh. However, if you are consistently down, if day in and day out, excuse my language, you are down, it's definitely good to go into groups and to say something, but more important is to analyze it and look at it and go, why? Bottom line, even if your stuff has always been in demand, because I hear that from some sellers and some very good experienced sellers, and then all of a sudden you flatline, that's got to check solds, because you got to go immediately see if something's going on with prices. And if it's not, then is it selling at all? And if it's not, then clearly for whatever reason, it's not selling on that platform. And for those of us that are multi-channel, we've all experienced this of product A sells like gangbusters on eBay, but you cannot give it away on Poshmark and vice versa. And that's why diversifying is so, so, so helpful, because it's different shoppers on the different platforms. Just like here in New York, it's different shoppers in Macy's, it's different shoppers in Old Navy, and you want to be where the shoppers are. And then additionally, the social media, the posting to your Facebook business page, or if you're a Pinterest person, the pinning will help to drive traffic to where you are. It allows shoppers to discover you and then go to your products and shop with you. And that's what I'm interested in helping you with, is you getting more sales. Great. Thanks everybody for joining me. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling. Bye-bye.